Hi, this is RGK and I'm showing you Indefatigable in early access with only 3 chapters out of 7 for the final release. Indefatigable is published by New Blood, the same publisher as Dusk, even if the developers are not the same. Here, the developers at work are Indefatigable. We are projected in a cosmic and fantasy universe, slaughtering all kinds of monsters in levels with complex architecture. Don't expect an RPG, here the inspiration is full prey, running down corridors at high speed while knocking down swarms of evil knights. There are medieval weapons, like a sword, axe and mace, but I get the feel that they started using them for melee combat, then added ranged shots for fun, and those were so powerful and fun that they had to keep them. As per a general rule, games with mana-based weapons are not as visceral as usual guns, but here it's a resounding success. There is the equivalent to the BFG, an electrical arc, but most importantly, there is a Morgenstern shotgun that is absolutely orgasmic. Oh, and a planet thrower that grabs planets from the cosmos and throws them as if it was a rocket launcher. If you throw planet Earth, you get an achievement. This overkill weapon is necessary to mow down the hordes of enemies. They are fast and violent. Also notice that the AI is less dumb than usual. Enemies get around obstacles or jump rather than remain stuck. The colorful art direction is an acquired taste. It looks ugly on screenshot and it's an unwatchable pixelated soup on video. However, believe me that mouse in hand and with the depth perspective it looks much better. Still, some enemies can be quite ugly. The font in the menus is unreadable. I gave up trying to decipher the background in the codecs. Also don't forget that you can reduce the size of HUD messages and remove camera shaking effects when you move, just go in the menu. The graphical style is quite interesting. There is some sort of effect that makes the textures muddy, which brings back to the 90s when imagination was able to fill the gaps. I prefer this to smooth and clean graphics, it's also too basic to be evocative. There are gorgeous cathedrals and improbable architectures, but the problem is that as the game progresses, levels and enemies become uglier. The third chapter is a catastrophe, both in terms of visuals and feel of the combat. Each chapter features different atmospheres and enemies, which is great. However, creatures from the third chapters are shadows and golems. Shooting them gives no pleasing feedback at all. Another problem with the levels is that they try not to be linear, but often their transitions are confusing and it took me a long time to find out where to go. Progress is not very smooth, especially when a jump is necessary since those do not go very high and it can be frustrating. Another big issue is that once I got used to the weapons, I constantly wanted to murder some more, but the enemies were too spread apart. There are many empty rooms that would gain to be a bit more populated, or even waves like in Serious Sam or Painkiller. I was often wasting the Berserker mode against useless enemies alone in corridor because this power gets triggered by shooting any weapon, which is not very practical, and it's quite useful when it works, because then you get a new special power to each weapon and it's much more powerful. Thankfully, there is a horde mode to vent out. To conclude, at first I thought that this would be an ugly and boring game, but actually Indefatigable managed to charm me at places and it satisfied my violent tendencies. However, it is too uneven to be really good, the whole parts are not up to par. Up to you to see if this fast shooter is right up your alley, but if you are too picky and demanding, you might not like it. I hope you enjoyed this video, bye bye.